Welcome to Speed Vector, the podcast dedicated to the art, risk, and obsession of speed flying. I'm your host, Victor Garcia, speed flyer, skydiver, cinematographer, Navy veteran, and full-time gravity junkie. Every week, we dive into the lines we fly, the gear we trust, and the stories that push us past the ridge and into the void. Whether you're just learning to launch or chasing the perfect line, this is where speed flyers come to connect, learn, and stoke the fire. This is Speed Vector. This is Speed Vector Podcast episode 10. My guest today is a man by the name of Alex Amplatz. He's from Italy. He's an awesome speed pilot. He's got a really cool YouTube channel that basically dives into all sorts of things. Crash compilations, what went wrong, why it went wrong. He does reviews of very popular wings like the Flare Line, like the Level Wings Flame, and many others. He also does harness reviews and other gear reviews. He talks about airbags and reserves. And honestly, he's a really good pilot. He's really fun to watch fly. We sat down for about 2 hours today, had a ton of fun talking to him. I definitely gained a lot of knowledge myself, and I feel like you guys will too. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 10 with Alex Amplatz. I think we're live, dude. We're doing it. Episode 10. What's up, Alex? How's it going, man?
Yeah, hi, Victor. Thank you for inviting. It's really nice for me to be here.
Oh, man, love having you. I appreciate it. You're definitely someone that I've been watching on the internet for quite a while now. You've got a pretty impressive format and impressive YouTube videos, and I think you'd be a huge benefit to the Speedfly community and beyond that too. So I was like, hey man, you want to come on? And you surprisingly said sure, and here we are.
Of course. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your words. It's nice to hear, and yeah, of course, it's nice to be here. And I mean, if we can share information, everything that's valuable for speed flying community, as you said before, there is not much information around, and everyone can enter the sport. There is not something you have specifically to do, and that's everything you have in addition is great.
Yeah, we were just talking about that before we started recording. Just how like the barrier of entry into this sport is your bank account and your ability to like go on Facebook Marketplace. It doesn't take much to get a wing and to get a harness and
it
find a hill.
Depends, of course, from the country. Like we all know in Switzerland, for example, you need a speed flying license, and here in Italy, where I live, you need a paragliding license. But I know that in many other places, you just don't need anything.
For sure.
Yeah, so and just having that barrier of having to start paragliding first, which in my opinion is also the right progression to do, just gives you that little bit of more information, more safety, and better steps to go into the sport.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your YouTube channel and your videos that you make really show, at least some of them, especially most recently with like the I apologize, I forget how you named it, but it's like the crash reels.
That
shows
combinations with error analysis. Yeah.
Yes. So that is brilliant. And I'm not, I am very safety forward with all sports, to be honest. I'm not saying that like I'm a wimp or I'm scared, but I understand the ground is hard and gravity is always in play, and human bodies are not meant to hit the ground really hard. So I have a lot of trouble watching those videos that you put out because they make my body hurt. Like I see that, and it's really, it's great to see, because it's like, I'm learning something here. Like, oh yeah, okay, that's what a full collapse looks like 30 feet off the ground. Like that's terrifying. But yeah, man, they make me cringe. But it's so.
I mean, it was at some point a bit intentional. Like I don't want, today on social media you see everything the perfect reel, the perfect TikTok, the perfect line flying as to grass from start to the end. You don't see a lot of fails, you know. So I'm intentionally maybe bringing it a bit more aggressive. Like for example, on the crash, on the last part of the crash, you hear the pilot screaming, you know, to give more that sense of what might happen, because things can happen.
And very quickly. Yeah, things happen. They happen fast, and also they happen when you least expect it. I've told this story, and I'll keep it brief. I've told it on the podcast a couple times now, but I 3 months ago broke my leg and blew up all the
Oh,
ligaments in my ankle. Yeah, just at
yeah,
the
I've seen
very
something on your Instagram. So it's
yeah
recent. It's recent, okay?
yeah
Shit,
that
how
was
did that happen?
June. Yeah, so super routine, you know, beautiful flight, line 13, my favorite wing of all time, at least that I've flown,
Okay.
and did like a really kind of medium aggressive 90-degree turn, nothing too crazy, you know, but it's like 100-meter swoop and come to the end of it, and I was trying to like carve to the left to keep going, and I didn't have quite enough energy, so I sank. And kind of like I was running the Fusion airbag for the first time actually that day, and we can talk about airbags later, but
Yeah.
I wasn't used to that, you know, extra foot and a half of fabric underneath my butt, and it hit the ground and rolled me forward. So I put my feet down, and right as I put my right foot down, my toes caught in a hole, and it
Okay.
ripped my right foot like full 100 degrees, you know, outward.
Wow.
And you know, instantly I was like, oh, I broke my leg for sure. It took 2 steps, plopped down, did the whole like, you know, scream thing and all that. And then my buddy showed up and calmed me down a bit. And it turns out I ended up also rupturing all the ligaments in my ankle. So I had surgery a week later, and I'm just now like able to weight bear. So I'm, you know, walking around with a boot, and instead of a cast, I had an above the knee cast for 9 weeks, and I got another like 3 weeks in the boot, and then hopefully be able to, you know, walk around, you know, without a boot or crutches or anything. But I'll tell you, and it wasn't a crash. It was,
Okay,
if
so
you,
it was still, I mean, it was a minor crash, but still, yeah, things can happen fast. Yeah. It's
yeah,
still sad.
it was very not dramatic, but traumatic, I would
Yeah.
say. It was
Uh-huh.
violent, but it didn't take much, you know. And I've, you know, I've got just about 1,000 canopy flights between skydiving and speed flying, and I barely had a bruise. And then, you know, super routine, just, you know, just about to kind of pop it up to tiptoe my landing, and caught the ground with the airbag, and then, you know, it was like, oh crap. And then, yeah, that was that, man. And it's been like 11 weeks, and I haven't been able to really, I've been on the couch. I mean, for like 9 weeks, I legitimately was on the couch because, you know, I couldn't do it. And
Okay.
I started this podcast before that happened, about a month before, but it has turned into like, hey, by the way, this sport's really dangerous, so like be careful, you know, because stuff happens even when you're not. It doesn't have to be a dramatic crash like the ones that, you know, you portray or that you
Yeah, yeah,
show in
yeah.
your videos. You know, for it to be not necessarily life altering, but, you know, immediate life altering. Like, you know, the last 3 months
Yeah.
of my life have been not awesome. So yeah. Anyway, I've
I
told the
can
story
imagine.
before,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's, you know, it's been a journey, but we're getting there. And I was safety minded before that, but I think that accident has opened my eyes to the fact that you really can't take a flight off. Like there's no, until your wing is on the ground or stashed in your stash bag, like it's not over. And I
Yeah.
think I kind of was a little complacent in that moment.
I mean, I guess
Um,
it's safe enough to say that you were pretty unlucky with, I mean, if you were already flaring it for 100 meters, you still probably didn't have much energy left. And still that bump with the airbag caused such an impact. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was unlucky. There was a lot of
Yeah.
factors. I was tired, you know, it was like a Friday. I had worked 40
Yeah.
hours on a construction site the previous 4 days. And, I had been up since 4 in the morning, and it was like midday, it was thermic, and like I had no business flying. I knew I shouldn't have
Yeah.
done another lap, so there was other factors, but yeah, I mean, it was
Mhm.
purely bad luck. I mean, because I'll send you the video after this, and you'll be like, oh,
Okay,
you
would
got
be nice
hurt? Like
to, yeah, to
there's
see.
no way. But yeah, definitely got hurt.
I mean, that's
Unfortunately.
something that I'm always saying. Like, yeah, with you have never 100% to not crash, but of course you can reduce it. But there's still a certain percentage, like it can always happen like that because of we still have a lot of speed, and at landing, at takeoff, you just have to trip or just distort an ankle, and like some minor injuries who can happen fastly, like a broken leg, a broken ankle, while you start running after the landing. It's I mean, we all know it happens when we are walking that you just distort an ankle, if that's the right term in English. So you walk and you just flip to the side with your ankle, if you know what I mean. And if it happens while walking, then it can happen, of course, also while running. So
Oh
that's something
yeah,
that can always happen.
100%. Yeah, no, you said that perfectly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just roll your ankle, stepping off of a curb on the sidewalk, and you break it, and there you are. Yeah, it doesn't take much. I mean, the human body is very resilient until it's not. And
Yeah,
then once you cross that threshold of it not being resilient, you're in for it for sure. And yeah, it was just one of those situations where I just kind of crossed the line, and that was that. But it's all good, man. I'm alive. I have friends that are a lot worse off than me, from
that's
way
great.
worse crashes, and I'm thankful. I've tried to keep it in perspective this last 3 months, just being like, what, like it's gonna heal. It's just a bone. It's just ligaments. Like they grow back. It's all good. I didn't break my back. It didn't break anything bigger. Like it's in the grand scheme of things, it's just a speed bump in my life. So it's all good. But it does show the reality of the sports, these all sports, all air sports, really.
Yeah, sure.
That like the ground is hard, and humans are not meant to hit it hard. So, uh,
That's true.
but
Definitely. Yeah.
but yeah, so I'm curious. I did some digging in your Instagram, and was trying to like learn more about you. But if you don't mind, like just introduce yourself, and what got you. Just you can start from day zero when you were born,
Day
or
zero.
however you like. It's your floor.
Yeah, day zero when I got introduced into speed flying was when I didn't even have in mind to start with it. Like there was a friend of mine, which unfortunately passed away in 2019 as a speed flying accident. He was very great friend, and he went at the same gym as me. And he always came after the workout or during the workout. He showed me his videos. He was doing speed flying, and I got really impressed. But that was not the point where I said I want to try it too. Like for maybe a year, I've never had that idea to start too. And then during the end, like mid of 2019, he was saying, "Yeah, one day I bring you with a big paragliding wing, like so you can test to take off on a small hill." And yeah, that's when I started playing with the idea in mind to start paragliding and later go into speed flying. And it was when he passed away that something in my head clicked and said, I don't know why, but I have to do it. And that was the beginning. Then I started with my paragliding course, took the license, and that was that was on when COVID came. So later everything was closed for like 9 months here in Italy, and because I work as a personal trainer at the gym, so the gym were the ones that were closed more than anything. So I had a lot of time to fly. And that's when I took my paragliding wing on 2 to 3 hike and flies a day. Like I tried to do around 10 flights a week. Because of that period, I managed to make a lot of experience, a lot of flights. That was my first half year of flying. first with a 21 and then later with a 19-meter paragliding wing. When I felt comfortable enough, then I switched to a 16-meter mini wing and took it for another half a year. So I'd say I've probably made around 300-400 flights, maybe a bit more. And after exactly 1 year, I felt very comfortable, and that's when I wanted to dig more into speed flying. Like, of course, 60-meter, you can start a little bit, but it's not that serious proximity flying. So it was the first time when I tried, and I wanted to buy a 30-meter wing, but I think many will know the same situation. Then on a second-hand mini wing market, you find another size, like I found an 11 one, on a very good price as new, and then you say, yeah, it's like new, it's such a good deal, I have to buy it. I'll just skip one size in between. And that was exactly after 1 year. Everything went well. I made a lot of flights. I was flying the 11 Flame, was it, very comfortably. But still, then I had an accident. Nothing crazy. I decided to land somewhere else so I can do more flights. I wanted to train. I didn't even have a camera with me because I just saw it as a training. But that inexperience, that too fast downsizing became an issue because then I had to land uphill in the slope. And I was always landing with my rear risers, and in that moment I had enough time to think, more than enough time to think, but I didn't switch to the brakes. So in my head there was that muscle memory of landing with the rear risers, and so I didn't. But that's of course not the right thing to do. I just slowed the wing a bit down with the C risers, but was still going at the normal speed with trimmers closed. I should have switched to the brakes, and then impact speed would have been half. So maybe I wouldn't even have injured myself. And that was when I broke my back, 3 vertebrae, and dislocated the shoulder.
Wow. That's significant. Yeah. That's a significant injury, especially a year into it. That's pretty, anytime, that's a significant injury. So what was the recovery like for that?
It was a minor, it was not even that crazy crash. Like I've seen some other ones in the crash videos that I analyzed, or even on YouTube, that did the same thing as I did, and they walked away as if nothing happened. So I think my body's a bit fragile when it comes to impact. I can feel it when I jump down from a 1 meter stone or something, like my knees and my back. I have no idea why, because I'm training since 15 years, but that's
sure.
It seems it's like that way, yeah.
I feel that. I'm in my mid 30s, and I definitely don't. I'm not as graceful when it comes to impacts as I was in my 20s or even before that. Like I ski, all winter, and if I jump off of anything, like I feel it. I'm like, oh man. So I just don't jump off stuff.
Feel it, yeah.
Yeah, I do not jump off unless I have a speed wing above my head. I'm not leaving the ground with skis on if I can help it, because it's just it doesn't feel good. But so that's interesting. So I'm curious, what 16-meter mini wing were you flying?
It was a Flame from Rebel Wings, the Flame Light, because I do a lot of hike and fly, and did even more back in the days, 5 years ago when I started, and that was a good compromise for me. Still lightweight, small package, and more mini wing. Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of blurs the lines between a speed wing and a mini wing. That's probably a really nice kind of transition wing to go from paragliding to speed flying, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I believe if you come from paragliding, like if you come from skydiving or something similar, which I'm not a fan of if you just dive in, but still we know a lot of people do, then the Flame is probably not what you're looking for. It's completely not what you're looking for. But if you come from paragliding, you'll be much more familiar with the dive, with the up bopping after a dive, after a turn from the Flame. And it just feels like a smaller paragliding wing. So you have way more time to get used to the wing, to the smaller size. And that was great for me. That was the feeling that I needed to progress safely for myself. Because I mean, there are probably like talents out there that just dive in and already can do everything. But for me, going on a real speed wing, it was at the beginning, it was not such a great feeling. Like I felt overwhelmed, and that dive after a turn, that's not. I needed much time to get used to that, and the flame was not that, so it helped me personally a lot.
Sure. Yeah, and I haven't actually flown a flame. I'd really like to, though. It's on my list of wings to demo, but they make them in a huge size range. I forget what the top end is, but I know the bottom
The
end is
top
like
end is
8,
19 because I have the
19.
19 Lite 2 for hike and fly, and it's a nice mini wing. Yeah,
Yeah, and then it goes all the way down to an 8 meter, which to me
yeah,
is like that can't even be. It's like apples and oranges. It cannot be even a close resemblance to the bigger, wing
yeah.
in
That's
terms of
true.
flight characteristics. It's, the 8 meter wing is small. Like that's quite
Yeah,
small. So
I mean with the 19, I'm even thermaling on good days. So
sure.
that's just to tell you, it's how crazy the range is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and for me, I came straight from skydiving. I was still, actively pursuing that sport when I started speed flying, and I was flying small canopies, smaller canopies, closer to 100 square feet. They're measured a little bit differently, but it would be the equivalent of like a 9 meter wing,
Okay.
basically a 9 meter speed wing.
Yeah.
Um, Different, a lot more dive. You turn those
Yeah.
things and you're pointed at the ground until you do something to correct it. I mean, the flight cycle on a skydiving canopy is a lot longer than on a speed wing, even in the really small sizes. Like it's a totally different experience. But coming from that, being used to that sight picture, and that speed, I found that speed flying gave me almost like an overconfidence in like the wing is going to cycle. So my first speed wing was a 15-meter Spitfire 2 Plus, which is a very, probably a bad decision, but I survived that, those 120-ish flights I did on that thing. I bought it from a guy that was an instructor, a skydiving instructor at the drop zone that I worked at. And,
Okay.
I quickly found that wing, if it was any smaller, would probably not be ground like good for foot launching. It's just super aggressive dive, really just wants
Yeah.
to be on the ground. It's made for speed riding, I think, just the way it's trimmed out and stuff. And but that's what I learned on. But I got bored of it really quickly. So I went on Facebook and I found an 11-meter original Mirage and a 10-meter Fizz. Paid like $350 for both wings, like total. I
Okay.
mean,
That's gifted. That's nothing.
literally, like I paid for shipping. It was a
Yeah.
joke. The guy was just like, I think I don't know if he had like some sort of business in the speed flying world, but they were both demo wings.
Mhm.
And that 11-meter was like everything I ever wanted out of a speedwing. I mean, it was like perfect. I didn't feel.
So
um,
much faster than a Spitfire.
oh yeah, much
I've
faster.
never flown a
But
Spitfire, but correct me if I'm wrong. Like the Spitfire, it's a speed riding, so it doesn't fly that fast, that reactive, but it still goes down like a stone, right?
yeah, I think it's probably like a 2-to-1 glide ratio in feet. So like it's like a skydiving canopy. I mean, I had to really
Okay.
work to get like any sort of distance out of a glide. It was like it was a handful, even at a bigger size with the light wing loading. I was probably 160 pounds all up. I don't know what that is in kilograms. I apologize, but it it was it was slow, but it didn't glide at all. Like you're totally
Yeah.
right. So the
Yeah.
the 11-meter Mirage was, while it was faster, it actually launched well, and the glide was amazing. I mean, with the trim
Yeah.
closed, I could go pretty far, and but it helped me progress, and um, I eventually got bored of that, so I started flying the 10-meter Fizz, which is also not fun to foot launch. I mean, it's not meant for that,
Yeah,
but
they are riding wings, so
yeah, I
definitely.
mean, awesome to speed ride. I had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun speed riding with that thing, but it was a questionable decision on my part. Um, But
Yeah,
but
downsizing from 11 meter ring to a fifth it's yeah, it's a weird decision, but I mean, if it worked,
it worked, and this is all with my mentor and instructor and someone that I really trust overseeing all of this. I didn't make these decisions in a brash way
yeah,
or in like a spontaneous way. In fact, I was probably at least skill level wise ready to move down to the Rapidos 9 meter, which is what I had been flying before I got in the 13 meter line for 6 months, before I actually did. And it took my mentor, who's also an instructor and owns a flight park and a drop zone, to be like, hey, you're ready for this wing if you want to. Like, you don't, and he wasn't making any money off me like doing it or not. He's just, a friend and a mentor. And he was right. I was, but I have taken a step back and been like, going slower isn't bad. Like
no,
going,
it's
flying at 100 kilometers an hour right off the ground is cool, but like, what about like flying, half that speed and making a ton of turns and being able to enjoy it more instead of just going around with my hair on fire. But I love to swoop. That was kind of what I was the path I was going down in the skydiving world, and that's what I like to replicate in speed flying. And so to me, it was like, oh, smaller canopy, faster swoop. Like it'll be fun, but maybe not the best, you know, choices, especially considering, I've only been speed flying for about a year and a half now. I've been skydiving since 2019, I want to say, maybe 2020. It was like right around COVID. But, two completely different sports. So,
yeah.
um,
But
but
let's be honest, how many people progress the, let's say, correct way in speed flying? Like I have no idea, but I'd guess just around maybe 20%, if that's like everyone does not the best choice. A lot of people do not make the best choice to progress to downsize. Me, I was the same, There are some people that I meet at Kronplatz where I fly that are really taking it with calm, the correct way. Like they start with a paragliding wing, then with a 17-meter mini wing, then with a 16, then with a 15, But I have maybe it's just a bias, but I have the feeling that that the least people do it the right way. Let's put it this way.
hmm,
What's your meaning about it?
I struggle with this question because I don't think that there is a way to put it on paper and be like, this is the truth when it comes to downsizing and people's kind of ability to fly smaller stuff. To me, it's like it's totally dependent on the person, and it's totally dependent on their I want to say like goals, like what they're okay, not goals, but why they are doing it, why they
Yeah,
want to be flying a,
that's the right thing
put
to
it,
ask.
whatever size wing, right? Like, is it for the right reasons? Is it because you are maxing out the capabilities of the wing that you're currently flying and you're searching for something that's a little bit better in X category, like whatever it is? That would be a good reason, right? Like
Yeah,
you've done everything you can possibly do on the 16-meter Dragonfly. Okay, cool. Let's put you on a 15-meter 2RS or a 15-meter R3 or whatever. Fill in the blank. That's great. Where I see the biggest concern from an onlooker's perspective, and I say this with a caveat, I'm not trashing younger generations mentality. I've met a lot of people in their late teens and early 20s that are doing it correctly. But with that being said, that generation is all about like the Instagram and the TikTok, and the whatever, blah, blah. Like if you're doing it to get more attention or get more likes or to get sponsored or to get some sort of recognition, that's where I think people get tripped up and they end up getting hurt or dying because let's be honest, it's really freaking cool to see Jamie Lee or Patrick Hennessy or Joey flying a 5.9 meter wing in a slot canyon. Like it's the coolest freaking thing in the world. But what people
Yeah,
fail to realize is that is like 1% of the 1% that should be
yeah.
doing that and that are
That's
doing that and surviving. It's such a fine line between getting the clip that you're looking for Instagram and dying when you're playing that close to terrain going 100 miles per hour. It's just like it's crazy. But people see that and they're like, oh, that's what I have to be doing to be like those guys. But the truth is you don't.
you don't.
Um,
You're not becoming. You can post as much as you want. You're not becoming the second Jamie Lee, the second Valentin Deluc. That's just a reality. That's yeah.
right.
But I think I have the feeling that maybe a lot of people are trying to. Now, maybe they're posting just for themselves. I mean, I posted like everything. It was a big passion for me. That's for sure. Like when I'm at for example, I really enjoy being alone, some time for myself, and that's when I really feel joy to rewatch my last videos, to edit them, to make an edit about it. So it's of course it doesn't always have to become that extreme athlete, but for sure a few people are I think they're doing it for the visibility and something because they think they're getting sponsored, they're getting that, and that's just not reality. Some, of course, may achieve it, but you just, even if you have 20, 10, 20, 30,000 followers on Instagram, this doesn't guarantee you a sponsoring. And what many people don't know is that a sponsoring or being a team pilot or pro partner or whatever doesn't guarantee you a free wing or free equipment. Like most of pilots just get the wings for like the dealer price. You would be surprised of how many pilots, big pilots on Instagram that everyone knows, and they still have to buy their wings for dealer price, which is still a lot of money. So even they are not getting them for free. Maybe some get, of course, but the reality is most people will not.
Right. This isn't, football or American football or basketball or, it's not the kind of sport where there's a lot of money being pushed into it. So that therefore the top athletes are not going to be, bringing in a ton of money for themselves. And that's just the reality. But honestly, like, I don't think that's a bad thing, but I'm happy that you said that because it's so true. And people, I don't think know that is like, yeah, like you could be a team pilot for Swing or Ozone or whatever. You're still buying your equipment. You're just getting it at, like you said, the dealer price, which is a better price, but it's still a lot of money, like you said. So it's like to keep things in perspective in that regard is important. And to be honest, I'm not against people posting their clips on the internet. I mean, I do it. And like you said, it could just be for them. I honestly do it for myself because it's kind of like a place. It's like a bulletin board that's virtual. I can put up a video of me, flying on whatever day, and it's there and it's going to be there. And I can go back in 6 months or a year or whatever and be like, hey, that's what I was doing on this day. And look at what I'm doing now and like compare it. It's just like a way to not lose it in my photos app on my phone, because stuff gets lost and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's buried.
And that's okay. I mean, a lot of people do it. Just what I meant is like if you enter, if you post, if you film everything with the reason in mind that I want to get sponsored. Like I know some people, a friend of mine, for example, like if you start with that mentality, you're really risking everything because you need to push, or you subconsciously push more and more. Like nowadays, doing a ground loop barrel roll at the landing, it's with the power kites, it has become I'd say standard. I'm not doing it myself. I won't, but I'm seeing so many on Chromeplatz. like if there are 10 speed flying pilots a day, at least 3 of them make ground loops, barrel rolls while landing, or even barrel rolls inside the slope, which is pretty flat. So it has become very, I'd say, common. And to compete with those crazy pilots, if that is your goal, then you really risk to risk everything for maybe nothing, because you probably won't even get the equipment for free. That's the message that I wanted to tell. Yeah. So of course, if you post just for yourself, or it's okay, I do it too. That's what makes us enjoy the sport. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been seeing a lot of clips lately of people doing ground loops, and I was wondering if it's just because, the algorithm is showing me them now because I've been watching them, or if there actually are more people doing them regularly.
There
And
are way more people doing it. Way
right.
more.
And is it because of the advent of like the line? Or is it just because people are seeing like the mega pros do it and they're like, oh, I want to do that too? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I'd say that in general, the wings are getting way more. Um, how do you call it? I don't get the word in English. They get way more energy and everything. So even normal
Hmm.
wings, it gets like for a few years, it was very uncommon to do with normal wings. Now you can even do it with normal speed wings. But with the power kites, it really got way easier. So I'd say I don't want to say that it's easy, but if you know how to manage with how to retain your energy at the landing, how to make a barrel roll perfectly, then it's not that hard. But I've seen so many pilots doing it like not once or 2 or 3 times because they desperately want it on camera, but on every flight, on every landing. And even if it got easier because of the wings, because of the energy that you have with a power kite, pushing it that much can sooner or later, yeah, get you into trouble. That's my opinion.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, man, the the technology of these wings exploded in the last few years. It's hard for me to pinpoint the exact like, year or the exact wing where things changed, but it's like, flying that original Mirage like I was talking about earlier versus this 9 meter Rapidos I have, which was still manufactured in 2020. It's not a new wing. It's not the R3X. It's not it's not the line. It's not a whole bunch of other wings that are newer. But just the difference between those two wings, as far as like efficiency goes, like energy retention, the recovery, how much how long you can push a swoop, like how long you can retain energy is remarkable. I mean, it is
Yeah.
like it's so hard to quantify because it's like it's off the charts way better. Um,
Hmm.
and with that comes more, the more ability to not have to be as precise to do these crazy maneuvers, or not crazy maneuvers, but do bigger maneuvers. Like I don't think a barrel roll in the right environment is a crazy maneuver on these wings. They're designed to fly in any configuration as long as you're keeping the energy.
Yeah.
But doing it, a few feet off the ground or touching the ground and then doing it is crazy because, like you said, you have to be so precise. So, the guys that are doing it right, the guys that have done it, thousands and thousands of times with altitude, uh, that know exactly what the wing is doing without having to think about it, uh, and can make quick adjustments if they need to, is the difference between life and death in that scenario where you're a foot off
Yeah.
the ground, starting this thing. But then, monkey see, monkey do. People want to be cool. They want to be like those guys and gals. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. But just, I think what people miss, not to go off topic, but I think what people miss, especially with the Instagrams and like the highlight reels, like you said earlier, is they miss the work that was put in to that specific maneuver to be in that specific place and time to do it perfectly.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's missed, right? And it's not just speed flying; it's literally anything. Like you pick a sport, pick an activity, pick a job. Like you don't see the amount of work these people are putting in the background leading up to that, the 10,000 hour rule, if you will, to be able to do that with such mastery, and it's scary, and people are getting hurt, and people are unfortunately dying unnecessarily, because it's just, you got to keep it in perspective with this stuff, because everything's fine and dandy until it's not. The ground is great when you're tiptoeing landing,
Yeah.
but it sucks when you're hitting it going way fast, and at the wrong angle. I mean, it's terrible. It's devastating. So I think what you're doing is really cool. Like I think shedding some light on, and to be fair, not all of your videos are doom and gloom. Like, most of them are really rad. Like the proximity stuff that you're doing with the line, and with the level wings, stuff you're flying, and all the wing reviews and stuff, like that is so appealing to me, and to, I would say, everybody else that's watching this video. It's like, man, that looks like the most fun you could possibly have with your clothes on,
Yeah.
is dragging your foot, on a grassy slope in freaking Italy. It's like, holy crap! Like, that is the dream,
Yeah,
right?
I'm doing
So
that a lot lately. I really got addicted to dragging my foot free through snow and grass. It's you get
yeah,
addicted very soon. Yeah.
sure, yeah. I used to love it. I don't think I'm gonna do it now, just based on the injury I just had. It doesn't take much, but I respect it. And
But
it's
if I can interrupt,
sure.
um, you know, like as you said earlier, people only see the result. Like as I said earlier, there are talents out there that just learn so quickly. For me, landing, dragging my feet through the grass, and landing like how do you explain it? At the last time, not running but sliding on your shoes.
Mhm.
That was something I saw on other pilots, and I was so jealous. It was something that I wanted desperately, but I was never able to do it, and I did not feel comfortable doing it. The few times I tried dragging my feet through even snow, like I got always too low, and you get those bumps. So it would never, for 4 years I was not able to. I tried, but I was not able to. Last year, or I'd say, yeah, around autumn last year, something switched, and it got way more easier, and now it's very comfortable for me. But people don't see that for 4 years I was not able to, and I was afraid to, and even if I wanted, as I said, I was not able to. And people just see the end result. Now, as I said, other pilots are doing it. Like there was one nice guy this early this season at Kronplatz. He was doing, I think, his classes with Jamie Lee, so he learned a lot from him, and he was flying a 17-meter mini wing, but one that had a lot of dive. And he was doing the landings like a real pro and sliding it out on his shoes on a 17-meter wing. Like there are really great pilots out there, but which I don't think I am. I learned it. It took me a lot to learn, but I'm not one of those talents that just goes in and makes everything from beginning. And as I said, it took me 4 years to do that. What you now spoke of, what you see on Instagram. And I'm not even doing those crazy stuff that other people do. I'm just flying proximity and somewhat making some cool feet dragging landings. That's all. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not doing barrel rolls. I'm not doing like crazy dive 360s and something like that. And because it takes a lot of time for me to get the courage and to learn those things.
Me too, and I think that's the right approach, for, I would say, 99% of people in this sport. It's like, take your time. The launches and the LZs are not going anywhere. The wings are just getting better, because if you
Yeah.
rush and end up grounding yourself, you're not going to be able to fly, which is a huge bummer if that's what you love to do. So just taking your time and getting into it. I mean, to be honest, like I very rarely do a turn over like 100 degrees. I mean, like to swoop, and it's so easy now with the line and the parakites in general, where I can do a 90-degree turn and swoop 100
Yeah,
meters, like no problem. Like it's not a big deal. Not even downwind, like going into the wind, 90-degree turn, hands fully up, getting the
more
thing
than enough.
pointed at the ground.
Yeah,
But yeah, you get so much energy. You don't have to do a bigger turn. Even at 270, you don't have to do that kind of a turn to get the result now. Even with it's a standard kind of traditional quote unquote speed wing, the energy retention is so insane that you can swoop a long way if you just get the you just nail the basically like the cycle, like you can't be too low, can't be too high. But people get into trouble when I call it backing yourself into a corner where you want to do a bigger turn, but you're not high enough, but you think you got it, and then you start it, and you're like, oh crap, I'm gonna impact like horizontally, and then you have to get yourself out of that, before it's too late. I think that's where people get into trouble when it comes to swooping, at least, is just initiating a too big of a turn too low. So
yeah.
but then
One thing I saw a lot is, like as you said, you get so much energy now, even out of a 90-degree turn, even out of wing overs. Like it's very easy to flare it high. You don't need to do 360, 270 and something like that. But what I see is a lot of people, and I'm saying this because I had the same feeling when flew the 11 flame. Like they just come in straight, maybe half a turn, but they're not able to use the energy of their wing. They're just coming in straight, and after a few flights, like it's too slow. It's too slow. You're coming in too slow. I want to swoop it like all the pros on Instagram. And it was the same for me. I was flying the 11 flame, and after maybe 60, 80 flights, like 1.5 months of flying it, I was like, because I was not doing those dives and those crazy turns, I was like, man, these landings are so slow. Maybe I should try a 9-meter ring. And now, or a year later, I got back to the 13 flame, and that's when I learned how to really use the energy out of a wing. Like if you can land your 13-meter wing way faster and way further than you used to with your 11-meter wing, then you're ready to downsize. But if you're just coming in straight and you want more speed at the landing, that's when accidents happen, because you downsized without being able to use the energy of your previous wing, and that's in my opinion getting is a big issue. Like a
it
lot of people
is.
say it's too slow, I need a slower one. But if you learn how to use that energy, it's not too slow.
Right.
In
You
most
can
cases.
fly. Sorry. Yeah. You can fly any wing fast. It's just you have to know how to fly it fast. Flying faster doesn't mean fly a smaller wing. It means like learn how to fly your wing faster. There's techniques to all of this, right?
Yeah.
It's not size dependent. I mean, I've seen people fly super fast, super low on a 16-meter dragonfly. Like it's possible. You just have to be at a proficiency level and a knowledge level with that specific wing to be able to achieve that. And that, like you said, that's the danger. It's a trap, and it's a dangerous game to play. Is like, oh, I want to fly faster. Well, how do you do that? Well, the easy way, the shortcut is to get a smaller wing.
Yeah.
But that's not the right way to do it at all. That's in fact the exact opposite of what you want to do. I totally agree. But I've also been there. I've been the guy with the 11-meter. Like, hey, this thing's super fun. I feel like I've maxed out, what I can do with this. I want to go faster, so let's get the 9-meter. Now, if you fly an
But
11-meter and a
you had the
9-meter,
feeling. Sorry, at least you
no,
had
no,
the feeling that you maxed it out. Like a lot of pilots, myself included, did not have that feeling, and that's what dangerous. If you haven't maxed out your wing, and you say, but I need to downsize because it needs to be faster at landing, because the barrel roll needs to be faster, because you're not able to do it with a bigger size because it's too slow, and at least you maxed it out, so that's
right. Well, yeah. I mean, so maybe it was a partially a good decision. I mean, I think I was ready. I think I had the right people telling me I was ready, and people that have been in the sport a lot longer than it's even been a sport, saying, "Hey, you can definitely fly that. You'll be fine. It's going to be, your go-to wing," and it was. I think I did it right, but at the same time, you know, there's nothing wrong with flying a bigger wing. Like I think people think it's like cool. I will say it's nice. It's really nice handling a 9 meter versus like an 11 or a 15 or even a 13. Just because there's less fabric, it's just like
Sure.
easier.
Yeah.
If it's super windy or whatever, it's like I'm not going to get yanked with a 9 meter. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
yanked with a smaller wing like that. It's just not, it's less likely, right? But then again, on those days, you probably shouldn't be flying anyway. So I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
what's the point? Like what are we even talking about? Like it's just kind of like one of those things. It's like, I know in the skydiving world, the cool kids fly the sub 100 square foot cross brace canopies, and then and everyone that's into canopy piloting wants to get to the 70 square foot crazy cross braced wing. But unlike speed flying, skydiving has a lot of red tape, a lot of gatekeeping, and rightfully so. You got to take a plane up. It's attached to an airport where there's rules and regulations from the government. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And you mentioned earlier that in Europe, you need at least like a paraglide license or a speed fly license in Switzerland. And I'm going to say in the U.S., unless you're flying at a flight park that is like a business and not just an area, you could literally go onto Facebook Marketplace and say the right words, which is not hard to figure out, and you could buy a wing of any size that you want, and you could go to your local mountain or hill and just launch. I mean, there's a lot of public land in the U.S. with beautiful places to fly where there is no regulation because there's nobody there. And it's totally doable. Like, we don't have, unfortunately, I wish we did, but we don't have lift access speed flying or speed riding in the US at all, like, period. There is not, that I know of, a single place, like a ski area, where you can take the lift up and fly down. And because of that, there's no regulation because there's nobody to regulate it. I mean, it's like impossible. Like it's kind of like base jumping. It's like there's an object, you have a base rig, you can jump off of it if you want. I mean, it's like your decision. But I'm super jealous of the fact that you have lift access, speed flying, and speed riding, because man, that has got to be so awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Like I talked a week ago with two people. They were from Utah, and we were discussing exactly this, that they don't have lift access. And of course, for them, it's paradise to come here and go up with the lift, because you have to do only hike and flies or maybe with the car. And of course, you're doing way less flying. Like if you're 1 week at Kronplatz, you're making probably more flights than 6 months,
Wow.
probably.
Wow.
If you just have the possibility to go for hike and fly, like some people do, if you don't have lift access, maybe, yeah, then that's all you have left, hike and fly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, my main flight park is I think the most hike and flies I've done there in a day is 13. But it's 600 vertical feet, to the part that I was launching from, at least. And I even built the trail. I mean, it's like, very steep, kind of like, probably like a 2-to-1 foot, glide ratio. Beautiful LZ. It's all grass, it's just like, and it's right on this river, right on the Columbia River. It's like a perfect place to fly. The wind is always usually really good. It does get a little thermic in the summer past like 11 a.m. But we're talking about a 600 vertical foot flight. So like, not much. I mean,
Not that much.
especially on like a 9 meter or even the line, I'm making like 2 turns and then I'm setting up and landing. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you want to go up higher, there are higher launches, and there's a road that goes up, but this side by side shuttle service is kind of the move. But it takes time, and
Yeah.
it's not like you're landing and stashing your wing and hopping on the gondola and taking it back up.
Sure.
How many?
And you're definitely making way less flights this way. So if you ask people how long do you fly, and they tell you, yeah, 2 years, or how many, like maybe beginners ask other pilots, how long does it take for me to get to this level? Well, it took 2 years for me. Yeah, 2 years, but with lift access, so maybe 30, maybe 40 flights a week, a month, and I know so many people that do make 20 flights a year, 30 flights a year, 40, which still is okay if you don't downsize, if you don't fly two small wings. If you just paragliding or mini wing flying or speed flying with bigger wings, then it's probably okay. But most see, as we talked earlier, they see the stuff on Instagram, on TikTok, and they want to fly the same way, so they want to downsize quickly. But if you don't have lift access, everything goes way slower. So if it took another pilot 2 years, maybe it can be 4 years for you. And that's
Right.
what a lot of people don't understand. It's not just the years you fly, but
Yeah.
the flights you make.
I think like number is important, but not everything. I think like currency is important, and also just having like a good head on your shoulders, like not taking unnecessary risks, not doing things that are going to put you in a position where you've got to make quick, split second decisions and inputs, and to
Yeah.
continue flying and survive. But man, 20 or 30 flights a year would bum me out. That is depressing. Um, but
But you would be surprised how many pilots, even here at my local place, I know a few people that do speed flying, very small wings, definitely downsizing too fast, and making like maybe 10 flights a year. And they're talking about downsizing again to a 9-meter wing with 10 flights a year. And you know that we have to say it how it is. It's either you have luck and you survive it, or you don't.
yeah, and that's the reality, I mean,
Yeah,
10,
that's the
10
way it is.
like that's like, dipping your foot into the deep end with, piranhas and sharks trying to eat you. I mean, that's not a good way to do it. 10 flights a year is very much, I wouldn't even call that a casual speed pilot. I'd say that's like someone that, does it not even once a month, one time,
Yeah,
that's kind of that's hard to wrap my head around. I mean, at that point, it's like, what's the point? You might as well fly a bigger wing and have fun, enjoy the view, than trying to pretend like you're, able to fly something small. And I'm not trashing those people, but it's just, well, I guess I am, but not
not
not not
direct.
on purpose. It's not
Yeah,
from like a malicious standpoint. I actually get pretty mad when I see people doing stuff that is, I would deem irresponsible, knowing full well that they're not at the level that they should be to do that stuff. And it's not because I don't like them as people. It's actually the opposite. I just want them to survive. Like, I want them to
yeah,
be okay. I want them to not hurt themselves and not make this sport look like it's something that it's not, because
yeah,
it's dangerous, but you can do it safely. Like, you can do this sport very safely. Um, and I think, stacking the cards in your favor, so to speak, does not look like that. It doesn't look like a 9-meter wing, 10 flights a year, doing crazy stuff. That's not good for the sport. Um, but at the same time, like I said, like, I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm just an advocate. So an advocate for safety and for doing it right, because it's so much fun. And I
yeah,
think it could be for anybody as long as it's done correctly. And it bums me out truly when I see people doing it the wrong way, and then ultimately, like, either getting lucky and thinking that they're like, a god or something, or not getting lucky and it, totally changing their life in a negative way, or ending it. I mean, it's just it's a bit concerning, I guess, is
yeah.
what I'm trying to say. So, not
It's
trashing, but
either way you're lucky or you're not. Like some of the biggest speed flying legends that are now out there progress the wrongest way possible. That I know one specific that shared his close calls publicly when he started, and it was pure luck. But now he made it, and now he's one of the biggest speed flying legends out there. So it's not like you're for sure going to die. Of course you're not. But are you willing to take that risk, that high risk? That's what everyone has to ask themselves.
Right.
But the
And
problem, in my opinion, is
oh
even
no.
that most people are not aware of this. So of what they are doing. Even this guy I spoke about, maybe it's 20 flights a year at maximum. But if you talk to him, like he thinks it's okay what he's doing. Everyone else is downsizing too fast, but it's okay for me. I'm doing it safely. I'm doing it. Like I answered a comment a week ago on one of my YouTube videos where I said, it's the Crasher compilation about not downsizing too quickly. And one asked in the comments, like, how do I know if I downsize too quickly? It's a tricky question, but then I got him a few points, and he said, yeah, but I know I'm doing it the correct way. I'm not pushing the limits. But everyone, I mean, 99% are thinking the right way. No one is downsizing with the idea of pushing now the limits and do crazy stuff. They all think they're doing it slowly and enter the landing slowly. But everyone thinks the same, but that's what gets you into trouble. That's the whole point of downsizing too quickly. Thinking overconfidence. That's the whole point.
Yep. Overconfidence, and it leads to this kind of this feeling of invincibility, and it's a dangerous path for sure. It's unfortunate, but and the thing is like I'm sure we'll talk about parakites in a bit, but I think I'm super thankful for parakites, right? Because
Yeah.
it has changed. I think the stigma against a larger square meter wing. Like if you're flying a 13-meter Mirage, you're probably new. Like, why would you be flying a 13-meter Mirage if you have 1,000 speed flights? Like, you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be. But the 13-meter line is insane. Like, that thing is as fast as my 9-meter Rapidos,
I was
if
about
not
to ask you this.
faster.
Yeah, if you think if you feel it like it's faster or uh, that's what I
It's
expected. Yeah.
So it's faster, but I have so much more control. Like,
Yeah.
I feel it's faster, but it doesn't feel faster. Like, miles per hour wise, yes, it wins for sure. It might be a couple off. I think if I'd have to measure it a little bit more accurately. I just used like my GoPro GPS thing for a couple laps for both, and it was right around like 100K an hour at max speed, like as much as I could
Yeah.
get out of where I was flying and what I was doing. So, it might be like two or three different, but the main difference is that I know that I can gain altitude if I have enough energy with the line if I needed to, versus with the 9-meter, I kind of feel like I still could probably gain some altitude if I needed to, but it's not like the range isn't quite as
Yeah.
much. Um, but I mean, it's a 13-meter wing. It's big. I mean, by comparison, it's huge. I mean,
It's huge.
high
Yeah.
aspect ratio. It's really long. It's just like I laid them out the other day, kind of stacked up next to each other, and I was like, wow, like that is significantly bigger. Um, but I love it because it's like I'm really confident with it. Like it's as long as it's not bumpy, as long as the air is smooth, it's pretty it's way more fun to fly. Like, I mean, I love traditional speed wings, but it's just there's something about having that, that ability to go up
Yeah.
that's pretty remarkable. And
It
it's
feels much more like that you have everything in your hands. Like the
yes.
speed, the altitude, the safety margin, you have way more in your hands. That's at least my opinion or my feeling I get.
Way more in your hands without having to understand the use and the difference between toggles and rear risers.
Yeah.
You can get a similar kind of feeling or similar result by switching to your rears if you need to pull out of something but you want to retain energy versus by stabbing in with your brakes, because it doesn't contort the wing as much. You're not creating as much drag when you're using your rears, so you're in turn you're going to retain some of that energy. But even on rears versus the line, you just can't compare them. It's so different. But you know, to be honest, I don't actually fly on my rear risers that much on a traditional speed
Okay.
wing, and I like the way the brakes feel. I just have more. It's like a snappier response. It's there's just a little bit more feedback, and
But do
um,
you fly a lot of proximity? Like, is the terrain pretty flat or?
the no, it's super steep. So proximity,
Okay.
yes, but I don't need to get on my rears to keep off the ground. I can get it in a
Okay.
dive and I can hold it with, and I can just make little adjustments with my harness and with my hands with the toggles. Um,
Well,
but yeah,
then
nothing
I get
flat.
it why you like brakes more. It's of course it's just preference. But if you would fly like at a place like where I fly, at Kronplatz, it's you would probably feel more comfortable or after a while with rear risers because the terrain is flatter.
Hmm.
Um, but it depends from the terrain mainly, and of course of your preferences too. But mainly, in my opinion, on the terrain.
Right, right, and that would be the difference. You know, if you needed to retain energy, obviously you don't want to be on your brakes because you're losing energy that
Sure.
way. You're slowing down. You know, they aren't called brakes for nothing. You know, they
Yeah.
they do slow you down. I mean, truly, and quickly if you're not paying attention. But yeah, rears are, it's definitely something I want to start doing more. And it's so funny because skydiving, I was like all rears until I was going into land. I mean, that was it, but they act, it's really hard to stall a skydiving canopy. And even when you do stall it, it's not like a speedwing or a paragliding stall. It's like they just kind of get mushy and weird and they do some like weird shakes. But, it's not something where you would be in trouble necessarily, as long as you're not, within, I don't know, 10 to 20 feet off the ground, you're probably okay. Um, but
But
yeah,
that,
I wanted to talk to you about rears because you've got a really cool video on your YouTube that kind of breaks down the difference between flying on rears and flying on toggles, and I think it'd be valuable if you want to dive into that a little bit.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that I wanted to add that I find it good that you're flying with your brakes more, because you said you're coming from skydiving, and a lot of skydivers, especially those who don't get instruction, they just dive into the rear riser flying because they're
Mm.
used to it. Um, in the last crash compilation, like I made a video, or the last videos, I generally analyzed the rear riser flying with the brakes, and Alexander from Pro Speed Flying commented, and he said that everything is just a symptom because of people flying too quickly with their rear risers, because especially skydivers are used to. And he said that you should stay 1 year on your brake toggles and learn everything with them, and then transition to rear risers. For those who don't know Alexander from Pro Speed Flying, he has a speed flying. He's a speed flying instructor, so has a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
love his
experience.
videos. He's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And let's be honest, how many people fly a year on their brakes and then transition to rears?
I
I
would say
don't think
very
a lot of
few,
people.
very
Yeah,
few.
very few.
Yeah,
Especially skydivers. If you come from paragliding, then you probably um, use your brakes more. But I'd say I'm the same opinion. A lot of people. Now we can argue about if you can transition after 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Again, it depends from your experience, from your teacher, from how many flights you make. But still, the message should be clear. You should learn flying on your toggles first, because then you have a way more natural way of switching from rears to brakes, better muscle memory when it's needed.
right, right. Because they do act totally differently,
Yeah,
and your brakes are going to save your life. It's going to slow you down. It gives you more authority.
yeah,
If you did need to dig yourself out of a hole, the brakes are definitely the ones to do. In fact, one of the first clips you put up on that most recent video, I think it was the crash compilation, like number 6, part 6,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. It's this guy coming in. does kind of a low 90 into like a parking lot, and he's on his rears, and then I don't know if he
Yeah.
switches to his brakes, but he like slides into a car. It looked horrific. I mean, I was like, man,
Yeah.
there's no way that dude's okay.
I mean, that
Um,
was one extreme. That was he ditched speed flying himself, and immediately dived downsized to an 8 meter speed wing. And he was coming in like with trimmers closed on his brakes. Then he panicked, got on his rears with trimmers closed. Then he got again on his brakes, and that's what happens. That's the extreme scenario. I'm happy that he sent me that video, because there are not a lot of videos where you really see that like it's a bit of a pity that I don't have my crash on camera, but it was the same thing. Like, even though I did 1 year of paragliding, a lot of flights, of course on the toggles, then my first speed wing, or the 60 meter, I don't count it as a speed wing, so my first 11-meter speed wing, after just a few flights, I went to rear riser flying, as I said earlier, and I was comfortable, I was doing great, but I did not have that muscle memory developed enough to think correctly. Things go wrong, and that's why I stayed on my rear risers before the impact. And that's probably what Alexander from Pro Speed Flying was talking about.
right. Yeah. Right. And I mean, it's a goal. It's a tool to have in the toolbox, right? It's a good thing to have, but you have to know when it's appropriate and when it's not
Yeah,
appropriate to use. Versus the brakes, probably always going to be the right tool if you need them. Like, I mean, it's kind of like you can't really go wrong unless you're flying in shallow terrain and you need to retain energy. It's probably, you know. Yeah, but if you're in shallow terrain, you need to retain energy, and you think you can do it on your brakes, maybe it's better just to land. I mean, honestly, like maybe that's the better outcome at that point, is just land in the shallower terrain versus trying to like, squeak through it, with your brakes. I don't know. I guess it just depends on the situation. But I like that rule of thumb. I've never really been a big fan of putting like like you need this number of flights or this amount of time. But I think that having like a general like, hey, 1 year of experience, which could look totally different
yeah,
based on the person, like you said, if you've got a 600 speed flights in a year of quality, that's different than the person that has 100 in the same amount of time, right? It's totally person dependent, but having like a no kidding like 1 year fly on your toggles, I think it's smart, and I think that
I mean, it gives you
um,
an idea at least, and it makes you aware that maybe there is something more behind, that I should not immediately switch to the rears. That's the whole message. And as you say, not a fan of 1 year or putting timelines, but every progression should be different. But you at least you have that awareness.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think it's like it's just one of those things, and I have no judgment on that guy that hurt himself in the parking lot there in that video, but it showed not necessarily that he didn't know what he was doing, but that he had sensory overload. He's
Yeah,
going really fast. He's flying
definitely. Yeah,
close to the ground. He's landing in a spot with a lot of hazards. To go from your brakes to your rears and back to your brakes, all that shows is sensory overload, not necessarily not knowing what he was doing. Like I try not to judge people when I see them make these mistakes in split seconds, because people react differently to stress, and that's a high stress
yeah.
moment in time, so no judgment towards him. I think it's cool. I was actually going to ask you how you source these videos. So people send them to you?
Yeah, it depends.
Okay.
So on this specific guy, he saw the first parts. Um, there are a group of people. They had like so many crashes, and
Okay.
he reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have a lot of crashes." So like you said before, you're not judging him. I can guarantee you that he was completely information overloaded, but he's very open about it. Like he said, he was doing so much wrong things in the beginning, and he knows that he was playing with death. He knows that, um, but he said he wants others to learn from, and their whole group consists, I think, of 20 pilots, self-taught pilots, and they were very 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 kind to send me everything. So some people send it to me, Others are filmed by friends of mine or were friends of mine or people I know, and others again, like there's one Facebook group of on Facebook. It's called Speed Flying Incidents, I think. And there were a lot of crashes. Like I made a what do you call it, a survey asking people if I could use their videos, and those who agreed, I used theirs. And then there is one public page on Instagram which basically did the same thing, which is called Worst of Speed Flying, and mainly of those four sources. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's where I
Okay.
took those videos. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's super valuable. What led you to start your YouTube channel?
Well, it's actually interesting because it depends what you mean with YouTube channel. Like I remember I make videos since forever. Like since I'm 14, I'm training at the gym since I'm 14. I always had that passion of editing videos. So I first made short edits about my gym progress, back when you could only post 15 seconds videos. Then later I got into mountain. I was filming like my adventures in the mountains. It just was for pure, just for me, you know. I knew you don't get a lot of reach with it, but I'm doing it since like 15 years now.
Wow.
And no, it was around COVID where I said, okay, why should I not upload my videos that I made for Instagram also on YouTube? And that's when I first started YouTube, if you can say it this way, but I just uploaded them and they didn't get a lot of views. So that was just, I wanted to upload them. So I had to them organized. And that's when everything started. I got more interested in YouTube. I mean, I've always done it because I love it, never with the intention of like growing an audience or something like that, because it was not really realistic. But I said, maybe if one day it works out, I mean, it would be something that I would be happy about. And you can say that my real YouTube, as you call it now, started last year with that video we talked earlier about the rear riser flying. Like that was early in the beginning of last year. I found out that information for myself for the first time, like the rear riser flying, like if you open the trimmers, if you pull them down, what happens, like that was new for me. And that was such valuable information, even if it's obvious, but it was so new and valuable for me that after a while I decided to just make that video and put everything well together. That was my first, I'd say, test, but I did not, I did not think that it would go this direction. Like my intention was to make just this video because I'm not an instructor. I'm not the craziest pilot. I'm not the one that has the craziest knowledge. But so that was everything I had to offer. And I gotta be honest. I was a bit scared, or not just a bit, because you're just a pilot that is not even that great at flying, and there are all these speed flying legends, all these people, and yeah, I made that video and posted it in a Facebook group of speed flying, and the feedback was so good that I was really happy about it. I did not expect it, and that's when I thought, okay, maybe I could make some more safety videos. But I think the next one was made like 6, 7, 8 months later. So it's not something I actively do. It's whenever I have time, whenever I have a topic where I think I can give some added value, then I just make it. So that's what got me into it. Let's say the first video that got that crazy feedback and that added value to the community. Let's put it this way. Did not meant to add such a value to the speedflying community, and seeing it really gave me that motivation to, maybe cover some more topics.
Right.
That's what got me into it.
That's really cool. Yeah, that video stands out in my mind because not only do you explain, the differences, in terms of flight characteristics and stuff of, flying on rears versus on toggles, but you actually do a really, really good job of showing what the wing does when you open up the trim, like how the risers stack versus lay flush with each other, or, lay in a line versus like a diagonal downward facing line. And then you show what happens when your trim is open and you're pulling on rear risers, how it levels back out, your line groups. And nobody, to my knowledge at least, has made a video like that. Like, people will talk about it, sure, that's one thing, but to actually like show it in a way that is very clear, very concise, easily to digest, it makes a ton of sense. Like, having understood what flying on rear risers and with trim closed and trim open, like what all that does to the wing, I already understood that stuff, but to have a visual reference point of be like, oh, that's actually how it looks, without being in the middle of flying myself and just seeing it, in like a split second, like there's so much value. And I think that, I don't know, honestly, what you're doing on YouTube is so awesome for the sport. It's really inspiring, and it's cool to see because, there aren't that many people doing it. The pro speedfly folks have awesome videos too, where they're actually like teaching things, almost as if I was there in person, learning how to cliff launch for the first time or whatever. I think there's a lot of value in that too. And I don't think, either is better than the other, but what you're doing is very cool. And I think that
thank you.
It brings a lot of value to people that, are going online trying to learn this sport, right? Because it's, not that long ago, there wasn't a lot of information, you couldn't.
There was nothing.
Nothing, like zero. I mean, zero. Yeah. Like, maybe your friend had done it a couple times and, they throw you off a little hill or something. I mean, it's tough it was tough to find, and by a long time ago, not that long ago, like within the last 5 years, it's definitely ramped up quite a bit, I think, with popularity, but also with just the content that's out there to learn. Because I feel like most people are, YouTube university types, and, and like, generations, after us, and maybe the millennial generation might be where that started, but a lot of people go to YouTube to learn stuff. It's just easy, right? I mean, it's not easy because you have to sift through all the BS, but if you want to learn how to do anything, you can pretty much find it on YouTube. And to have a spot, on YouTube with your channel, with the pro speedfly folks and with others, like to be able to go and get some valuable info, even if you already know what you're doing, right? There's still value to it. I think it's special. So I want to thank you for doing what you do, because I think it's cool.
Thank you for your words. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Let me just boost your ego a little bit, man.
So I got to produce more videos.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, it's a passion project, right? Like what I'm doing with this podcast is a passion project. I'm not making any money off this, and that's fine. I don't want to. Like, sure. I mean, if it comes someday, that's great. But it's passionate about the sport, passionate about people getting into it and doing it the right way so that the sport flourishes, right? Because we're at a time right now, and I know it's hard. People probably don't believe this, but this sport is on the edge of blowing up in popularity in a good way, right? Like exploding in popularity, and it already is. And we have, the manufacturers and the people that design these wings and the harnesses and stuff, like everything is blossoming right now. And is it going to be
popularity? Yeah,
tons. Like, is it going to be as big as skydiving someday? I think it could be bigger, right? And skydiving is, in the grand scheme of things, a really niche sport. But if you look at the difference in numbers between speedfly pilots that are actually registered, speedfly pilots versus the amount of skydivers, it is like a lot to very little. Might not be accurate numbers because, in skydiving, you have to have the licenses to do the thing, and speedflying, you don't necessarily, unless, you far flying in a place that requires it. Um, so it might be a little skewed, but I can promise you, I would bet my life on the fact that there are more people skydiving than there are speed flying.
Yeah, for sure. Like as I said, these are just bets, but a few weeks ago, Benny from Speed Flying School made a post where he said that he guesses that there are around 2,000 active speed flying pilots around the world, and that's not much.
No,
Now,
not
of
much.
course, that's just a guess, but I mean, it's probably not way more. And for the question that you asked earlier, if I think the speed flying will someday grow more than skydiving, I mean, it definitely has the potential because you know that how do you call it? That hill of entering the sport is way less on speed flying than on skydiving. Like on skydiving, you have to make, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have to make a license or a course or something. Then you have to go with a plane high in the air. You have, much more preparation. Like you should prepare yourself for speed flying too, but like in theory, you just, as you said, there are no regulations. You buy your kit and then you go up on a hill, maybe with a friend, and launch. So that it's way easier to do it the wrong way, but it's way easier to enter compared to
Yeah.
skydiving. So maybe it can one day surpass skydiving. So I have no idea.
And that isn't necessarily the goal. I'm just using skydiving as a reference point because it's been around a long time. It's been around much longer, and it's popular within its niche, And
Yeah.
I love canopy piloting and skydiving, and I wanted more of that, so I found myself doing as many hop and pops as I could. So you're not free falling. You're kind of just getting out of the plane at 4,000 feet or 3,000 feet and waiting a couple seconds, getting your, deploying your parachute, and then you're just flying your parachute potentially, higher than you would be if you were doing a full height jump. And there's not a lot of other people in the air, so you have more space. But then, I get the same thrill as I do skydiving with speed flying, and by thrill, I shouldn't say thrill. I think it was never about the thrill for me. I want to correct myself here. It's a moment of being grounded. It's a moment of being 100% in the moment. So like, with these sports, you're not thinking about taxes or the water bill or like whatever. Like it is a way to be 100% present. And I found that with skydiving, it caused me to be 100% present. And then with speed flying, as soon as I clip into my wing and I'm on the launch, I'm not thinking about anything else because what I'm doing requires all of my presence. And I think that there's like a lot of like therapeutical value in that. It's these. You do team sports, maybe you're a runner or even like for you like in the gym, like the physical training stuff you do, super cool, by the way. You can still kind of be thinking about other things in the back of your mind when you're going
Yeah.
through a set. Like, when I'm running, I'm thinking about everything. My mind is just going. I'm like daydreaming, right? But in these sports like speed flying and skydiving and stuff, like there's none of that. Like I'm in it, man. Like this is it. This is all. Like everything that exists is right here, and I'm doing it, and that's all it is. And I find a lot of value in that. It gives me a lot of peace. So it's never really been about like
Interesting,
thrill.
because it's the same for me. Like it gives me, like you said, that feeling of peace. A lot of people think it's adrenaline, it's the thrill, but I'd bet that for most pilots, after a while, you don't feel that adrenaline anymore. At least if you always fly in the same spots. Of course, if you change location, if you make cliff launches, then you have your heart beating more. But if you just fly always on the same spots, then after a while, for most people, at least that's for me and for most of my friends I spoke with or that fly with me, you don't have that adrenaline. You don't have that thrill. So it's more a sense of peace, a sense of doing an activity with your friends, and at least that's what keeps me going.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's like peaceful but not boring. You know,
Yeah,
we're not talking about
exactly.
like sitting and meditating. I'm terrible at that. Not that I have anything against meditation. I respect anybody that is able to sit in a spot and find their mind being blank. I am incapable. I have tried. It's not me.
Same for
It's
me. Yeah.
it's not
Maybe
boring.
it's a speed flyers thing. Who knows?
It's ADHD, man. It's terrible. I'm telling you. Oh, it is my superpower, but it's also it makes it hard to meditate. So I find my meditation in air sports
Yeah.
instead, which is pretty funny. And like you said, probably very common. I'd be surprised if it's not, but so funny. But yeah, so I'd hate to leave this out, but I want to talk about like protection and as far as airbags go and reserves. I know you've got a video or two on your YouTube channel that talks about using both, and I wanted to get your insight and opinion on those two things.
Well, we have seen, like with your example at the beginning, that airbag is not always good. It can also, especially if it touches the ground, like proximity flying, airbag can be in your way. But at least in the beginning, I think an airbag is a must-have because there are so many things that can go wrong, and you really should not fly 10 centimeters above the ground if you just started. So either way, an airbag can give you a lot of protection. Like if you watch the safety video you mentioned now that I uploaded, we are talking also in the last part about emergency rescue and airbag. I've put a lot of crashes inside of that video, and every crash I showed in the airbag section would you see how much an airbag can help. And I know, for example, Benny from Speed Flying School, like he told me last year, there were so many accidents happening that now it's mandatory in his lessons. If you take lessons with him or Speed Flying School with him, it's mandatory to use an airbag and an emergency rescue. So it definitely can help you a lot. And I have a lot of examples that I could show you on video if you watch, as I said, those videos. And for example, last week I made a hike and fly in a different area, and I was flying with the 13-meter flame, so not the smallest speed wing, but still 13-meter. It has some speed. There was not much wind on the top, but it was in a different valley from my place, so I did not know exactly the wind. And at the landing, there was the whole valley that was going downhill. So for some reason, the wind accelerated there.
Hmm.
I was going so slow, even with the 13-meter, and I immediately recognized that I was not able to go to reach the landing area near the parking lot. So everything I had underneath was just grass, so not something crazy, but everything was uphill. And I was just at the last part. I was just the last 100 meters. I was just going downwards like a rock. And you know, the more you go on the brakes, the more you go down like a rock.
Mm.
And I did not have a lot of time to think in the last part. So should I land? I knew I'm going down very fast and it's going uphill. Should I land on my ass because I had the airbag, or should I land on my feet and maybe distort an ankle? I mean, that's always a possibility with that high speed, sinking speed I had. So I decided to just land on my protection, on my airbag, on my butt, and I still felt the bump. So without it, maybe I would have broken something because it was a gentle impact. You know, it was just going downwards.
Sure.
But this is also an example of just a week ago of how fast things can go. I know a lot of people for hike and fly, they don't use the airbag because it's more lightweight and so on. But that was one example after a while where nothing, where I didn't never got a lot of time where I did not got into situations where I would need one. But here I was really happy to have one. Really, really happy. Not sure if I wouldn't have broken something without it.
Right.
So the airbag really, especially for beginners at the landing, it's so easy to misjudge. Now this was a hike and fly. Maybe a lot of people don't do hike and fly, but even for speed flying proximity, it's so easy to misjudge altitude at the landing. If you make a dive, if you make even a 90-degree turn, and if you have an airbag, it's really like landing on a soft cloud. You really don't feel it. I mean, if you're bumping into it like crazy, of course. But I'm guessing I'm telling about misjudging, about light misjudging that can happen, and it helps a lot. You don't bumps that would maybe break something. You don't even feel them with the airbag. Now, of course, don't take the extreme crashes, but I'm talking about those who might get you to break something. Here, the airbag really makes the difference, and that's a fact.
Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
He's back. Little technical difficulties there, but hey, we're still rolling, man. You all good on your end?
Yeah. It's as I told you, the PC froze.
It's okay. Yeah, we're good, man. I can cut that right out.
Perfect.
Yeah. So basically, what I was saying is I watched the video on your channel of you talking about like airbags and reserves, and I was up for a new harness, so I ordered the Fusion and I got the harness or the airbag included with it. And the first day I was running it was the day I broke my leg, and I take full responsibility for that because it although the airbag is what caused me to roll forward and break my leg, it was my error for not accounting for that fact. And so I don't blame you. I don't blame Level Wings. But I will say that I was surprised at the lack of like solid integration with the standard airbag from Fusion from Level Wings rather to the Fusion harness. And then I remembered back, I'm like, Alex's looked so much different, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I think I found it either on your YouTube channel or on your Instagram, where you talked about how your buddy basically rigged up a contour harness airbag onto your Fusion harness.
Yeah, exactly. That was I was always telling when I spoke about airbags in that video too, or in other videos. I'm always saying that there were not many good options available. So in theory, it should be a must-have for beginners, and in theory, it's always a good thing to have one. But in practice, we don't have a lot of good options. And I would personally say, from all those that I do know, the one from Level Wings is the worst one. It has such a high profile. It's even thicker than if I put my legs down. They're still higher than the airbag. So the airbag will constantly touch the ground when proximity flying, and of course it can cause such a bad coincidence as when you landed. And so, yeah, there are a bit better options. Like I know the ozone switch, if I remember right, has a better one. And now we have, of course, the flare proxy, which is first step in the right direction. That's what I was telling about in that video, that I would love to see at some point a harness with a low profile airbag that still gives some protection for the biggest bumps, dive misjudgments, but that doesn't interfere with your proximity flying. Because the Level Wings is so thick, so it's impossible to have a good proximity flying, and at the same time it creates way more drag. So yeah, so that's when I came up for myself, together with my flying school, to modify the airbag from the Contour Like I reduced which is the same as the Skywalker core for those who make hike and fly. We reduced the volume a bit on the backside, so it doesn't has that big bloat on the backside, and few attachment modifiers for on the no, not on the Fusion. The Fusion still the same, but on the airbag, and so it fits to the Fusion. That's what you saw. So that was the perfect solution for me. Let's say with that possibilities that were on the market on that time. That's what you probably saw.
Yeah, yeah, and it looked sleek. I mean, it looks good, and I really like the proxy harness. At least in theory, I like it from Flare. My only issue with it is that I kind of need the leaders, right? Like the pack leaders that Fusion has. And proxy, or sorry, the proxy harness does not have that, like in terms of just the overall like backpack size. Because like you said, I mean, like we've been saying, most of what we do in the US is hike and fly. So you kind of gotta need to bring, you got to bring up a jacket, and you got to bring up food and water or whatever. It depends on how far you're going. But and then the other thing too is like, and it's actually one of your videos where you talk about the proxy. It's kind of awkward to run with, because like the seat board, it's almost like a paragliding seat board. I mean, it's pretty rigid, and it doesn't contour to your body when you're foot launching. And then you wouldn't want to speed ride with that, because it's going to be uncomfortable and kind of weird to have like something flopping around behind you. So with hopefully the manufacturers and the designers realize that there is a demand for a better solution as far as protection goes with the airbags, that they'll design something that works, right, that doesn't create this hazard of having too much fabric below you, doesn't flop around, but that also like behaves like a harness without an airbag would behave. I'm not an engineer, so that's way above my level, but I know that there's a lot of smart people out there making these wings. I'm sure they can come up with something that would work, and I hope they do, because
that's what I hope too. And that's what Flare did with the proxy. Like, I think it's a great step into the right direction. Like you said, in theory, it's really good, and it probably is good for some people, like if you do more soaring. But for the majority, in theory it's good, but in practice not. And every pilot that saw it and tried it said the same thing to me. So I think it's but I have to say that they are going to change that on the second version of second production of the proxy, that it goes more onto your body, so they recognize the problem. But still, that's what they did with the airbag. That's the first step in the right direction. And if other companies, especially speed flying companies, will follow the same, so we get more options. Like, for example, this one has a rigid one. The one that I put on my Fusion from the Contour has perm air, which is filled with air. And that doesn't occupy a lot of volume. You can decide if you want to blow it up more or less, and you can hike with it. So if speed flying companies recognize that this type of low profile airbags are great for the community, and they create more options, then we have more options to choose from. We have the Flare one, which is rigid, which is probably better for if you just go with your car parked there and go soaring. Then we have one that you can blow up with air. It has advantages and other disadvantages, but maybe better for you for hike and fly. And so at least we get more options to choose from. And especially for beginners, this in my opinion would be great, because what was available until now was also the reason why a lot of people don't fly with airbags. Like, I remember a year ago, I started a discussion in a speed flying group, and I asked why Like in paragliding, basically 90% of people wear an airbag, even though they are slow, they're landing slowly, and we are going at 100 kilometers per hour, 80, 90 kilometers per hour, and 90% of speed flyers are flying without. And I was asking people's opinion on why that's. So those pilots that were doing proximity flying in a more serious way, they said the airbag touches the ground, so that's one thing. But it was also that there were not a lot of options available. You look like garbage. You have the one from Fusion. I mean, I know it shouldn't be a matter of choice how you look, but let's be honest. The way you look with the current options of airbags, like the one from the Fusion, a lot of people get screwed away from it. They don't fly it because of how they look, even if you shouldn't care. But it's not comfortable. It's not nice to watch yourself on the videos, and it interferes with your proximity flying. There are so much things, and just make it more appealing to people with lower profile and so on. Would, in my opinion, definitely make it more accessible, and so that more people use it. Because if there aren't the solutions, and you have to come up with a solution yourself, like I did, a few people do it, but the majority won't. Like probably, I'd say around 15 people asked me about the stitches I made, because they wanted to do the same thing. Still something. It's 15 people that want to fly with airbag, but how many would have done the same thing if you could just buy that airbag for 100 euros and you don't have to do stitches and everything? Maybe double. I have no idea, but definitely more. And that would be great, in my opinion, to see in the future. So more support from speedflying companies in that way.
Yeah, and I think style definitely matters. Like, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's true. In anything, style matters, and people pay a lot of attention to that, like whether they know it or not. Especially, yeah, our egos are ridiculous, man. It's insane. Yeah. I'm speaking for myself here, but no, I mean, so yeah, that thing, it was $200, 200 US. It's bulky, it moves around, like it just isn't for how good the Fusion harness is, and it's my favorite harness. I mean, I've flown a Brave 3 for a while, Brave 4. I haven't tried the Ozone harnesses yet. I'm going to probably demo the Fluid Wings harness here, hopefully whenever I can fly again, hopefully in the next month or so. And but I'm always going back to the Fusion. Like, this thing does it right. I think with the exception of lacking a belly band, that threw me off, because I came from a Brave 3 and they've got this like really, industrial clip that's like from like the skydiving world, basically, as a belly band, and it kind of just it doesn't affect whether you're gonna fall out of the harness or not. And it's honestly like pretty much just for the launch, where it gives me the warm and fuzzies. But the only thing I have against the Fusion, and that I might actually get rigged up, is a belly band, because it doesn't have one. I think they give you like a weird like lanyard thing that you can attach to like the cross the lap thing that's like attached to the leg straps, and then like the little backpack like chest strap thing that you could probably find on a Walmart brand backpack. I'm not trashing Level Wings. It's just how it looks. It's like, this is going to keep me in this thing. Are you kidding me? That's my only knock on that harness. But beyond that, I love the adjustability. I love how it looks. I love how it's so sleek. Like everything packs away nice, but it's still a huge backpack for when you're hiking. And I'm like, and then it comes in the mail, and I'm looking at the airbag. I'm like, this is the best that they can do. Like, really? Like this harness is sick. And that's the airbag that they say that comes with it. Like, there's no freaking way. Like, there is a huge gap in the research and development or the technology or something. Like, even just like clipping it onto the harness is hard. Like, it's like these weird loops that are too small, and you got to like put this big. It's just dumb, And I love Level Wings. Like, I'm a big fan of their wings. I'm a big fan of their harness. Like, but I'm just looking at that like, man, like, you got to be kidding me. But yeah, anyway, I hope that with demand and more people in the sport, excuse me, and more schools requiring that students have airbags, that they see that there is value in spending the money and the time to research and develop something that's actually going to work, that doesn't suck, and that
Yeah.
doesn't cause injuries, right? Because while I do take full responsibility for what happened to me, I can say with all honesty, and I'm almost 100% certain, if I did not have that airbag on my harness, it would not have happened. So,
It has pros and cons,
yeah,
but if you would have had one with a thinner profile, with an aerodynamic profile, then probably it wouldn't have happened.
wouldn't have happened. Yeah,
And
yeah,
if it continues to go this way, that people are more looking for airbags, that more people are talking about it, that more companies are building dynamic airbags, then maybe some companies like Levelwings will do something too. Because as you said, that airbag is just, it's just like saying, okay, you have one if you want to fly with it, but it's garbage. Let's say it how it is. And while there is no research, there is no development, there is no effort that they put into, like many other companies. Because I remember when I bought the second version of the Fusion, the V2, back in 2020, it was still the same airbag. And even on the first one, that on the first video they released, I think in 2018, something like that, they still have the same airbag. So they don't put research into it because probably there was not a lot of request, but maybe this will change in the future. I hope so.
I
Because
hope so.
as you said, their harness has a lot of potential, and having the possibility, like if you see my airbag that I attached to it, it's great. I mean, you could make it even thinner, but that's a great solution, and it would take nothing for Levelwings to make it. And one thing I'd like to add, like as I said earlier, Penny from Speed Flying School he said that it's mandatory to use an airbag now, right? So if more people have to buy one, then companies, Levelwings would also make money out of it. Like a lot of his students fly the Fusion, at least from what I see. And I remember after he saw my stitches, he asked me how I did it, and he made some for his students too. So there is interest. Like at least all the students that now have to buy one. It's not like there is no interest in it, and maybe some companies will recognize that, and would be amazing for the community in general.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that paragliding went through a similar kind of period of time where the airbag technology and the form fit factor or whatever wasn't quite there, because they haven't been around forever. Airbags have not been around for that long. I'm not sure how long, but I can guarantee you that there was a point in time where most people that were paragliding were not flying with them, and then all of a sudden they were, and then the companies had to then catch up. Like the technology is already in existence, right? I mean, you see it in that world, but more importantly, and probably more relevantly, you see it in Flair's proxy harness. Like that airbag is perfect. And I mean, while the harness might not be perfect for what we're using it for, right? Unless you're soaring, like you said, that doesn't mean that it can't be manufactured in a way or manipulated in a way that makes it work well for what we need it for, right? These people already have this information, they have the knowledge. It's just a matter of getting it into production. And I'm not a great businessman. I know this stuff costs money. I know it's time. I realize that, and stuff takes time, right? But my hope is that that is what's going on, and we just don't know about it yet. I guess we'll see. But eventually it's going to have to catch up, right? Because if like you said, if it's a requirement, people are going to be buying them. We don't, it needs to be better. Because I mean, I'm all for having a little bit extra fabric under my butt if it means like getting to fly tomorrow if I screw up today. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, why would you not? Like, why would you not have something that doesn't affect you negatively? That can only help you.
The right thing that doesn't affect you negatively.
Right.
And I think the proxy from Flare is the first one that really, I mean, of course, a little bit of downside maybe, but I don't think that it interferes in any noticeable way with your flying.
Sure.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it's so sleek. Like it's, if as long as you don't have your toes pointed out in front of you and your legs straight, your legs are blocking it. It's not like it's creating drag,
Yeah.
or any more than your legs would. I think different story with the Fusion, airbag, like you said, but that's, we've already established that's probably not the way to go anyway. Um, and I don't think the Brave 4's airbag is any better. It might be a little bit smaller, but I don't think it's much different. I haven't seen it in person, but it's
I
it's
don't know about, I've never seen it with the airbag. Let's see if I can find some images. It looks kind of big, like way less bigger than the Fusion one that run from Fusion,
sure.
but still not ideal. So maybe okay for, probably okay for beginners. From what I see here from the images, it's not that thick, but still way too thick for experienced pilots to use it every day.
Right. And
At
it's
least that's what it looks like from the images I'm seeing right now.
and roughly the same price point too. I believe they're right around this. I was looking at both harnesses. I think the Fusion might be a little bit more expensive, but it's not much. They're in the same ballpark. So, but the really lightweight stuff is kind of what people have been demanding. I think with the explosion in popularity of hike and fly over the last handful of years, and I think that's kind of the way the companies, excuse me, goodness, went was, hey, we want to make like a super lightweight harness that,
Yeah.
is like, doesn't even have a backpack. And, I respect that too. It's just the opposite end of the spectrum. I'd rather have a harness that has a lot of space in it that I can carry stuff like my wing and whatever, versus having to like run a second, like a backpack and then have my harness. Just too much stuff going on, too many clips and, snag points for lines and all that. So
Yeah,
I think
but you
simple
see
is
here
better.
here it comes to the point where we have a lot of option to choose from. So you choose whatever suits you best. As for the airbags, if you want something that doesn't interfere with your proximity flying, you just have the proxy harness. But the proxy harness has the airbag that is very thick, very stiff, and because of that airbag being that stiff or protection being that stiff, the whole harness gets stiff and it doesn't fit onto your body. So that's not a problem of the harness, but it's because of the airbag, because it's all one thick thing without interruption. And if there is if there would be more options available, then maybe that we have a similar harness, like with the on the Contour with the Perm Air technology. So it fits perfectly. It fits like every other harness, and you can deflate it. You could use it for hike and fly. So you would have the choice,
I
and
see.
that would
So
be great for the future.
the proxy harness is not a ram air, and ram air inflation for the airbag. Is it just like a solid piece of material?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes the harness so stiff and not fitted onto the body.
I
So
see.
it's not
Okay.
because of the harness, but because of the protection of the airbag.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Versus the Contour is a ram air, or you have to fill
Yeah,
up the air. I see. Okay.
exactly. So they already have the technology because they have the same company as Skywalk, and they have the technology, pretty good technology. Skywalk has that perm air and it works perfectly. So of course it's just advantages, disadvantages. If they made it perm air, then maybe people would complain, "Oh, I have to blow it up every time I go to fly. I want one that is always already in position, so you can't make everyone happy. But I think having an option like this would be great.
Hmm.
So because you can't use this harness for hike and fly, and if you had perm air, you could use it for hike and fly. It fits perfectly onto your body, so it's advantages and disadvantages. But at
Right.
least you have more options, and that
Sure.
would be great.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned the other day to me that there was an accident at your home, like where you fly mostly, where the use of a reserve, I guess, saved the guy's life.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's the same with the emergency rescue. Like it's controversial topic. I'd say the majority of speed flyers don't use one. The majority also will never need one, but you never know what happens. There is at least one video of in the crash compilations that I covered on YouTube, where we see one pilot throwing the reserves on a Rapido because he launched with a knot. And so then there's another scenario of one pilot flying out on pretty calm wind, so not stormy or anything, and he just gets a small front collapse on his Rapido 3, which is one of the stablest speedwing out there, and then it gets really, really active in the air. And that was the day he landed and said, okay, I'm going to buy an emergency rescue. So you never know when you need one. And another good example, as you already mentioned now, is it happened 2 or 3 weeks ago at my flying spot. And this is the I'd say the downside that's coming with parakites, especially with bigger sizes, 13, 15. You have longer lines, so it's easier to get a knot in it than with normal speed wings. And if you have a knot in a parakite, then you can have a problem. And this guy, because it, as far as I know, it can deactivate the reflex profile depending on which actions you make. And if you deactivate the reflex, it immediately collapses. So this guy launched with a line, and as far as I know, as far as people told me, he had a knot in it, so he flew out high. And I think it was already later the day, so it was thermal active. And probably because of the thermal air, he got a collapse mid-air, and he just went into a free fall. The pilot who told me that said that he heard a big how do you call it, like an explosion, like an opening of something, and at the last second the emergency rescue opened and he landed gently on the slope like nothing happened. But he was one of the minority of people flying with an emergency rescue. If the same thing happened to 90% of every other pilot flying at my local sport, speed flying pilot, at my local resort, they would have died. You're just falling into the ground in a free fall, and that's getting, I think, way more likely with parakites. Like we have this example that happened here where I live, so I can tell you, we have the video that was posted also a few weeks ago in the Facebook accident group, where one guy had a knot on the A lines or on the front lines, and I think you've probably seen it. I guess
I have.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying to watch this. So he's flying as long as he's keeping the brakes low, nothing happens. As soon as he goes hands up, the line immediately collapses. And that's not just a thing of the line, that's, as far as I know, with every parakite. So you never know, even if you make 1,000 flights, maybe one day you have not good conditions, you rush yourself a bit because you need to fly, and you get in a hurry. Can always happen. You have a knot in it, what you do? Maybe you can try to land, but if you're already high, maybe you just fly out. There are so many scenarios that can happen. You can encounter strong thermals. You can get into stormy weather. Like where I fly, we have north föhn in the Alps. A lot of pilots that come here, they do not know about that. There is a specific site where you can control about the north föhn. And if you have a lot of north föhn, it's possible that we have only 15 kilometers per hour wind at the top, but in the air, you get literally destroyed by this north föhn. And so the same could happen in other places where I don't know the weather conditions. So still a lot of things that might happen. It can be a knot, that can always happen. It can be the weather. It can be anything. Another example, which was from last year, there was a pilot with the line, and so always a parakite. He made a barrel roll, twisted himself somehow, and where normal speed wings would have stalled, the line doesn't, because it's extremely difficult to stall it. So normally if you twist yourself on a barrel roll with a small speed wing, it stalls, or it should stall. And the line didn't. So what happened was he was going into a spiral, into a deep spiral, and only thing that could, because I think he was a beginner, he was doing the school or similar or lessons, and only thing that can help you in such a situation if you don't know how to exit the spiral is throwing your reserve. So he had one, but for some reason he didn't throw it. And of course it didn't end well for him, but that's another scenario. Even though there is no weather out inputs, there is no knot, still a different scenario that where you might need an emergency rescue.
Yes, yeah, and then the training to go along with it to know how to use it. With more, equipment comes more training, more knowledge that you need, to implement it properly. So that's really sad about the guy that had one that didn't use it and ended up not doing so good after. That's a bummer. But yeah, I mean, I don't have one. I want one. I just they're kind of hard to source. Like it's just like there's not a ton of information out there yet about or maybe I'm just missing it, to be honest, but about like what reserve you need for your harness and for the type of flying that you do for speed flying, what works, what doesn't work, where to mount it. Obviously talking to a rigger would be good, but not everybody has access to that. So
Yeah,
where do you get your info for that?
I think that's mainly a speed flying issue, because I came from paragliding, and everyone that starts here, because it's law in Italy, you start with paragliding, so you get this knowledge from your paragliding school. And what most speed flyers use, if not every speed flyer, would be a front reserve that you just attach to your carabiners, and it bounces around. You have it here in front of your belly, so you have it always in front of you, which is also great. Like in paragliding, some harnesses have the reserve on the side stored, like where you have the airbag on the right side. This would probably not be great for speed flying. So you have it in front of you, and you can it's not something you attach to your harness, that you say, okay, now I'd have to detach it. It's a lot of pain to make. No, it's just put it on your carabiners where you put the wing in, and that's all.
Kind of like a fanny pack. It just sits there right in front of you.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. And is that how you're running it? Is that your configuration?
Yeah, that's my configuration. I have the front reserve, yeah.
Okay.
Because with the front reserve, you're free to use whatever harness you want. If you put it into your harness, but as I said, it's not an option for speed flying harnesses, you always have to use that harness. So this way you're flexible, and I think that's the only practical use for speed flying. So.
Right. Yeah, because I know some of the paraglide reserves actually have attachment points on your shoulders, kind of like a skydiving rig does.
Yeah, the Fusion has it too.
The Fusion does. Right.
Yeah, the Fusion has it too. It's not. I don't think it's much used. Probably it would work the same way, but I don't think most people just use a front reserve.
Right.
It would probably work. I'm not well informed about this, how it works, and yeah.
Right, but so the way that you have yours configured with the front mount, it's attached to your carabiners where your risers are attached. So if you were to deploy it, your hang point is the same. It's still attached to your carabiners.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. So like the bag itself is like the attachment point that's clipped to your carabiners. Okay. I don't know why that just like clicked in my brain now. Like I should know this stuff, but like I've always wondered like where does that end up? Like how does that work? It's all right there. That's brilliant. I think I'm going to order one. I think they're good to have, and they're not big. I mean, they don't take up a lot of space.
No,
they're not like heavy, it's literally like the size of a fanny pack, like maybe a medium sized fanny pack.
Yeah, they're really not that big. And if you have, if for some people money is not an issue, then now there are very small reserves out there that have such a small package that fits 2 times into your helmet. So it's so small
Wow.
I would not recommend this for speed flying in general. I have it because I do hike and fly too, so package and weight matters. But for normal speed flying pilots, it's not worth buying more than 1,000 euros a reserve. Like if you have the money, the extra money, and to say I don't want to carry, it's okay for me to carry less weight. I want it, then it's okay. But if you just want a reserve, you find it for 500 euros, maybe used one for even way less. So it's not that big, that much of a deal. I'd say it's your plan B. It can save your life.
Right. Which, you hope you never need, but if you ever do need it, you'd be happy you have one. It's the
Yeah,
same thing with the airbag. Hopefully you don't ever need it, but if you do, you got it and you're all good and you can fly tomorrow. But it's a worthy topic. I think it's controversial, like you said. A lot of people are like, oh, even my friends, and I respect their input, and I've wrestled with this topic, internally for a while now. It's like, yeah, I mean, we're so low to the ground, we're going so fast. Like, an airbag, all it does is break your leg, like it did mine, and all a reserve is going to do is get tangled up in a tree as you hit the ground. It's like, okay, well, that's one way to look at it, but the examples that you gave, with the guys, flying the parakites, and it's a routine flight, and then all of a sudden it's not, and then you have a reserve or you don't. You impact at full velocity, or you impact really softly. You gently lay down on the ground. Like it's a choice to be made, and at the end of the day, if I've got to spend an extra $1,000 to save my life and keep flying, keep living, God forbid, I ever need one, then I'm going to be happy I did in that moment, or I'm going to be kicking myself that I didn't. Like, why didn't I do this? I think that it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you don't need stuff until you do. And then when you need it, you better damn well have it, because if you don't, you're screwed. It's simple. It's simple math, right?
That's if I can tell you another example of myself. That's exactly when 4 years ago, when I started with the 11-meter flame speed flying, I put away the airbag because I felt very comfortable after a while, and that's exactly when the accident happened, and the airbag would have probably saved me from the 3 broken vertebrae, from the broken back. And even now, I'm from that on. That's why I'm always flying, or nearly always flying, with airbag protection. From that crash on, I told to myself that even if I will one day be a pro pilot, whatever, I will at least try to fly always with an airbag. And in the last 2 years, I've probably never come into a situation even close where I thought, okay, this was a close one, or would have needed an airbag. I nearly always land on my feet, even if something goes wrong. So I got more confident and was like, yeah, maybe I should fly without. It's less package. But you see, last week, the example I told you, hike and fly. I was really happy to have it there, even if on 2 years nothing happened. As you said, the time when something happens, you're happy to have it. And the temptation to go without emergency rescue without airbag is really great. The more you fly, the less things happen, and the better you get, the more you get into temptation to just don't use it anymore.
Right. Yeah. With experience comes confidence, but that confidence can bite you for sure. So I'm not telling everybody to live in fear and, don't fly, right? Of course, like we want to fly, but it's just an extra tool on the tool belt. If you ever need it, you got it, and it's there, and you know where it
Sure.
is, and you train for it and whatever. But, speaking on the reserve, at least specifically, and then, yeah, I mean, if the technology with airbags comes around, gets a little bit better, I'll be running one for sure. But I think I'm hanging up the old Fusion 3 airbag for now, because I just don't have a ton of confidence in it anymore. But that'll change, and the technology will catch up, and hopefully it'll breed a little bit different culture when it comes to these extra little pieces of kit that I think could potentially go a long way.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I got a couple more questions for you. We're just about 2 hours, man. Gonna get pretty close here to wrapping up. It's getting late there in Italy, I'm sure.
It's okay for me. I'm free tomorrow from
Uh,
work, so
right on. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I've got a couple questions, and then I've got a couple rapid fires for you. But these
yeah.
these first couple, you can be as long or as short as you please. First off, where do you see the sport of speed flying going in the future?
That's a great question. I saw that a lot of more people are giving it a try that are coming from paragliding, especially Austria, Germany, and that happened because of parakites. At least, I mean, it could also be a bias, but this is what my perception, my personal perception, with the people that I get from the people that I talk with at Kronplatz where I fly. So a lot of pilots came from paragliding, and they never really wanted to dive into speed flying because, as we talked earlier, to really speed fly in a great way, you need small wings, and that's dangerous, or that's way more dangerous. And now with the parakites, even with a 15-meter line, you can have crazy, crazy nice speed flying, proximity speed flying. And so I think more and more people, paragliding pilots, will try it, will get into it. The sport is just, I mean, it's just getting more visibility. It's if it's because of long form YouTube videos, if short form reels and shorts that go viral that millions of people see, it's just getting more. And if the sport gets more accessible, like with the parakites, more and more people will try. And like I've done a lot of tests lately, just for myself. I can comfortably say that a 50-meter line is faster and flies steeper than a Rapido 11 and has the same speed or around the same speed but way more dive than a Flame 10.
Mm,
The Flame
wow.
2, the second version.
Wow.
So I've made a comparison video on my YouTube, and with the 10-meter Flame 2, I have to roll constantly to stay halfway attached to the ground, while with the 50-meter line, you just stay attached to the ground. It's around the same speed and way more dive. And same with the 11 Rapido. I've tried it. A friend was flying near to me. So those parakites, even if they're big, of course they are less reactive, which is, in my opinion, better for beginners. But they don't miss the dive and the speed. So I think more people will give it a try because of this. So it's easier to get into it. Or
Certainly.
wouldn't say easier, but maybe more accessible. And you don't have to risk everything just to try it. If you wanted to try to fly proximity, real proximity, you have to fly an 11 or a 9-meter ring, because otherwise you glide too much. You can do the same thing with a 50-meter parakite, with a 50-meter line.
Right. While going up, slower and having the ability to climb out if you need to.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, no, it totally changed the game. And honestly, the line ruined me for traditional speed wings because I just have so much fun on that thing. I mean, it is incredible. I mean, just the amount of control you have in like a 3D kind of sense is like pretty nuts. But learning curve, it is different. It's definitely different. If you're coming from a traditional speed wing, it feels so different. Everything
Not
is
telling
different.
it's easier. That's important. Just it's different, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not easier, but once you figure it out, your mind opens up and you start seeing things differently. At least I did. I kind of looked at terrain differently. I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally get into that and get out of it if I needed to, or I could, I can get in it and stay in it, and I don't have to be doing a bunch of wing overs, or I don't have to do a steep 360 or 270 to get into it. It definitely opens up the door for some pretty serious proximity flying, which is a whole different topic that we don't necessarily need to dive into. But it's yeah, I agree. And then now caveat from that is all the companies are coming out with their own version of a parakite. I think really interested to see Swing's new Wave RS, as it has the RAST system, so it's like not going to be it's going to be better in dirty air. It's not going to be as like, I guess, susceptible to collapsing in dirty air, but with that, it doesn't have a reflex profile. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that performs in relation to the line and maybe the mustache. And and then Fluid Wings has the Odin, which I haven't flown yet, but a couple of my friends have, and they think it's awesome. And there's I think it's the Fuse by Level Wings. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of options, but obviously, the Flare folks are the original. At least, at least I might be speaking out of turn here, but I'm pretty sure they were the first ones to get one on the market at least. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to live in this day and age where we get to see this stuff blossom and use it. But yeah, cool. So where do you see yourself going in the sport, or where do you want to take your speed flying?
What do you mean with my speed flying? Like how I fly, or my YouTube, or what do you mean now?
It could be as broad as both. Just where do you want to take you, like your personal self in this sport?
So I don't think I will downsize. I fly the 13-meter line and the 11-meter line, and the 11 one is all I need for Kronplatz. So I tried the 10, but you just fly way more brake the whole time. So I don't see myself downsizing anymore. Like line 11 is all I need. No need for me to push it further. Never say never, but I definitely never see myself doing barrel rolls close to the ground or inside of the slope, which, by the way, caused an accident last week here at Kronplatz. So as always, as I say, I'm not a fan of barrel rolls close to the ground. Maybe I will do one day over a sea. But I definitely don't see myself pushing the sport to its limits. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I've actually never done a barrel roll, to be honest. At least not in speed flying. I've done them in skydiving, or tried to.
Okay, you never tried it even in the air?
No, I haven't done it
Okay.
yet. I haven't done it on purpose too, because it's like I'm not in a hurry.
Okay.
That isn't. It's not appealing to me. I'd rather do other stuff, to be honest. I mean,
That's not a bad thing, especially if you don't have an emergency rescue. I probably wouldn't try it without one, because you never know. Like as I told you, the other guy which twisted himself, and it's I'd say it's more difficult to get used to barrel rolls with a line, especially with bigger sizes like 13 or 15. Once you get used to it, they work better, in my opinion, because you create much more upwards lift, which is then the real barrel roll, which doesn't make you lose height, altitude. But to learn it on a parakite, I would not try it without an emergency rescue. So definitely, my opinion, good thing if you don't try it without one, and still
sure.
take your time. You don't need to make one. In my opinion, barrels are not that fun as they look. It's the proximity part is way more fun. So you're not missing out anything, in my opinion.
No, yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, I've done some steep 360s and stuff, but I wouldn't constitute them as barrel rolls. It's just where I fly mostly, I'm not that far off the ground, and not for very long. I'd have to very dramatically change my style of flying in the place that I fly the most in order to have a comfortable amount of altitude to do it. And then, like you said, I mean, I would be doing them on my 9-meter to learn. I wouldn't do it on the line necessarily. It's just longer line set and different. I mean, I can see how it is easier, and there is a benefit to, not easier, but more efficient to do barrel rolls on a paracite, on the line or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just haven't been inspired by it. I think they're cool when I see them and stuff, but it's like, yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, it's not really what I like. I like to swoop. Like that's really what I, if I could fly a 600, vertical foot, launch, every day and then just fly straight out and then do a turn and swoop, I'd be totally happy. Like to me,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Landing swoop is the best thing of the best part of the flying, in my opinion, too.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah, there's nothing like it. Just being in ground effect and holding it, and especially with the line, man, it's like, yeah, it's incredible. Like
You're going like forever. It's crazy.
forever. Yeah, and you could be going 100K, but then by the end of it, you're not going that fast, but you're still swooping. You're still going. It's just it's a cool feeling, and it's something I look forward to getting back to, hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, and then just to add to what you're saying, and not to speak for you, but like I said earlier, like, what you're doing with the content that you're creating on YouTube and on Instagram is so valuable. And I hope that you continue doing that, and that you're able to just keep pushing the sport, pushing safety, and keep people stoked and really honest.
Wait.
Oh,
I was kicked out.
oh
I
shoot.
like last 30 seconds.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I had a
I think the
feeling.
internet connection, I lost the last 40 seconds.
Oh, it's okay. Just close close one of your tabs. You've got two open at the moment,
Uh, okay.
and then that'll get
Is
rid of
it
the
closed
echo.
now?
Uh, Actually, does it sound
Because
weird on your end?
I have only one open. Maybe it's a
Okay.
bug. Should I
No,
refresh the page?
no, you're fine. I can hear you fine. So you're
Okay.
good. You're good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, but sorry about that, man. This platform's not the best sometimes, but yeah, no. What I was saying is, I hope that you continue doing what you're doing with your content that you're creating on YouTube and on Instagram, because I think it's just like an immense amount of value for people that are just getting into the sport, and people that are searching out quality knowledge. I think you're doing a good job with that. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
So I will definitely continue. So, um, but as I said, I don't have infinite knowledge, like maybe a speed flying teacher or something like that. So I make some bigger videos, the horizontal videos that like I've made, I guess, four that are, in my opinion, that give good value for speed flying, safety tips, and so on. But at some point, it's limited what I can offer to the speed flying community. So maybe it will be just one video a year, maybe it's two a year, maybe it's one. Maybe at some point I've covered everything that I am able to cover. But definitely, at least they remain on YouTube. So, but as soon as I have ideas, I have something that I can give to the community. I definitely will continue. That's for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super cool. We definitely appreciate that as a community. I would have to say, just to speak for everybody. But cool. Yeah, a couple rapid fires for you, and then we'll get you out of here, man.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
Actually, I don't watch any sport.
Really?
I'm very lazy. What for that? So not even the sport that I care about, fitness. Not even the X Alps. So I don't really care watching others doing sports. If I be honest.
I am 100% with you on that. I mean, I like watching motocross and hockey a little bit, but I've never been a huge fan of watching people do things. I just want to go do it myself. So I concur. I'm right there with you.
But if I had to choose or say something, maybe I like if there's the Mr. Olympia, I watch it, or at least I watch the results. And same for X Alps. The last year it got me passionate a bit more. So at least now I watch the results. I watch like this year Aaron Dorogati going into the goal, arriving to the goal. So I maybe watch it a bit, but not really follow it. So
Fair
yeah,
enough. Yeah, I definitely watched the highlights of the X Alps this year. There was some crazy, awesome
yeah,
piloting
same,
going on. I mean, there's a
same.
lot to be learned from watching those guys do that stuff.
Yeah,
Even as from a speed flying perspective, those are some of the best pilots in the world. Probably the best pilots in the world. And I'd be
yeah,
surprised. I'm,
definitely.
I'm sure a lot of them speed fly and they probably rip. They just don't talk about it. So, what are you passionate about outside of the sport?
Fitness, gym. So that's something that is following my life since I'd say 15 years. And beside that, video editing, everything that's about photography, video editing. As I said, I'm uploading videos mainly. At the beginning, it was in the last year it started becoming getting more something out of it, and maybe even becoming a second work. But before of that, it was just a passion. So video editing is also a big passion of mine. Gym, mountain, and flying. I'd say, yeah.
Cool. I love it. And one more for you here. What's your favorite wing to fly? If you could only choose one, I guess, what would it be?
If I could only choose one.
Tough question.
Yeah, I probably would depend on the terrain I'm flying, but if it's where I fly, uh, if it's just Kronplatz where I go up with the cable car, always the line. Always. Even for hike and fly, I started using the line more and more, and which replaced my flame light. But for some technical mountains, I love the flame way more because you have way more better control on takeoff. You need smaller landings. So if I had to choose only one, it would probably be the flame light, because with the line I wouldn't be able to go on those more intense hikes that I love.
Sure.
So I would have to give up on that. But just for the wing, definitely the line.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or in general, a parakeet. Like, I'm sure I tried the Razor Blade. There are other great parakeets out there, but the line for me, because I just fly that one. I'm used to that one.
Right. Yeah, I just to add in a little bit to that about the landing distance needed for a line, even a line 15 is pretty insane. So if you got to park it in like a tight LZ, it's probably not the wing to do it with.
No, definitely not.
It does not work very well if you got to shut it down quick. But if you got the real estate for the landing, then yeah, by all means, that's my go-to too. That's cool. Where can people find you on the internet and stuff? I know most people probably already know, but just in case.
On YouTube and Instagram, especially those two. Yeah.
What's your handle?
It's Alex Amplatz.
Awesome. Cool.
Maybe it's difficult to spell for non-German, non-Italian people.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. But I'm glad I got the pronunciation right. That's good. You just confirmed that for me. Right on, man. Well, dude, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge and insight. And I think there's a lot of good stuff to be gained from getting to sit down and talk to you. I mean, I've gained a lot just from the last couple hours, so I hope other people will too. And anything you want to leave us with?
First of all, thank you so much, Vic, for inviting me. It's, I think, a great opportunity for me too. I love to have a discussion, and maybe the one or the other can get something for himself, some valuable information, some additional information. That would be great, of course. Yeah.
For sure, man. Well, thanks so much, dude. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers. See ya.